Hi guys, welcome to the first episode of our Django tutorial series, and in this series we are going to dive into the world of web development with Django. But first, let's talk about what Django is and why it is such a fantastic tool for development. Django is a high-level Python web framework that simplifies the process of building web applications. It provides a powerful and efficient way to create dynamic websites, handling many of the common tasks developers face in web development. In this episode, we are going to start by setting up our development environment. Here are the steps we will cover today. We will be installing Python and Django. We will be creating the first Django project, setting up a virtual environment, and then starting our development server. Let's begin by installing Python and Django. If you haven't already, you can download Python from python.org. Okay. Make sure you select the latest version for your operating system. The link will be provided in the video description. So right here, you can click on the Windows installer, then you will get a download. Then once you run that, you should be able to install your Python. Now, if you're using a Mac OS, usually Python is pre-installed on it, so it would be best if you just try to see the version that you are currently running. Now, if you're using Windows, run the Python installer and be sure to check that the add Python to path, it will be at the bottom of the setup. Make sure you click on it before installing. It makes it easier to use Python from the command line, because we'll be doing that a lot. Now let's move on to installation of Django. But then if you look at this is how the Django web framework documentation looks like. Okay, this is how it looks like. You can use this as a guide for your development journey. I recommend that you use it. You will see all the nitty-gritty details of Django, so that you'll be able to work out some stuff. So the tutorial here takes you through creation of a poll. Okay, a poll, or more or less like a voting system. So we'll be using that as our guide throughout the entire journey. Alright, so let's move on to our installation of Django in our system. To install Django, we use the command pip install Django. With this command, it gets Django installed onto your system. Now, if you already have Django in your system, you should see the exact result as I am seeing, which is requirement already satisfied. But then if you don't have it in your system, you would see a colorful event happening, and then you'll see a loader screen downloading, installing it to install the package that it needs at this stage to operate. Once that is done, it will fetch and then install the latest version of Django, of course, and then that makes you set. So great. Now that we have our Django installed, let's create our first Django project. Okay, so in order to create our Django project, there is a command that we use, especially if your Django is already installed. So make sure your Django is installed. Yes. So what we use to create our project is Django admin start project. Then the name of the project. Now, yes, this particular tutorial is going to be taking you through the polls creation. That's from the Django documentation page. This is to allow you to follow up on the poll system that is on the documentation page, as well as here, so you're able to reference it properly and not have any issues. So we are going to call our app polls. We are going to call our project polls. Yes, we're going to call our project polls, not app. Now when you hit enter, that should create. When you type dir, you should see the polls app right there. Yes. So that is how we create a Django project. So whenever you want to create a Django project, it has to be Django admin, start project, and then the name of the project that you are creating. It could be posts, it could be your blog, it could be shop, it could be online chatting application, it could be anything, practically anything that it is that you are working on. You should just make sure that you have that right. Now after you've created a project, the next thing that we'll have to invest into creating is the virtual environment. This is essential. So what you're going to do is we're going to install the virtual environment now. To install Django, we use the command pip install Django. With this command, it gets Django installed onto your system. Now if you already have Django in your system, you should see the exact result as I am saying, which is requirement already satisfied. But then if you don't have it in your system, you would see a colorful event happening, and then you'll see a loader screen downloading, installing to install the package that it needs at this stage to operate. Once that is done, it will fetch and then install the latest version of Django, of course, and then that makes you set. So great. Now that we have our Django installed, let's create our first Django project. Okay, so in order to create our Django project, there is a command that we use, especially if your Django is already installed. That is, so make sure your Django is installed. Yes, so what we use to create our project is Django admin start project, then the name of the project. Now yes, this particular tutorial is going to be taking you through the post creation. That's from the Django documentation page. This is to allow you to follow up on the post system that is on the documentation page as well as here, so you're able to reference it properly and not have any issues. So we are going to call our app post. We are going to call our project post. Yes, we're going to call our project post, not app. Now when you hit enter, that should create. When you type dir, you should see the post app right there. Yes, so that is how we create a Django project. So whenever you want to create a Django project, it has to be Django admin, start project, and then the name of the project that you are creating. It could be posts, it could be your blog, it could be shop, it could be online chatting application, it could be anything, practically anything that it is that you are working on. You should just make sure that you have that right. Now after you've created a project, the next thing that we'll have to invest into creating is the virtual environment. This is essential. So what you're going to do is we're going to install the virtual environment now.
In creating our virtual environment, there's a tool that we use called virtual env. We're going to begin by installing this particular tool, or it's a package. So when it's a package, we use pip install virtual env. Now when you hit enter, make sure you're connected to the internet. When it's already installed in your system, you should see this requirement already satisfied. But if you don't have it in your system, you should see it downloading. It will go through an entire downloading process, and then it will finally be installed on your machine. Now you have the virtual env installed. The next thing that we're going to do is actually create our app. Okay, so the first thing that we have virtual env installed. So this is my labs folder. This is where I handle all my project work. So the next thing I'm going to create, I already have one lab in here, room 1. So I'm going to create lab room 2. So that's make directory room 02. I'm going to go into this room. So for me, I create rooms. Okay, I create rooms, and then I create my virtual environment in these rooms. So I know that this room belongs to either this project or projects that need similar packages or environment to work with. Yes, so that is how I create my rooms or my virtual environment folders. So right now, as I am in my room 2, I would want to create my virtual environment or instantiate my virtual environment here. So I'll use this command virtual env-p, and I enter Python 3, and I bring full stop. Now let me explain this. Virtual env is the tool that we just installed right now, and then the -p is an argument that is it's signifying or telling the virtual environment to use a particular Python version to create the environment. So currently we are setting it to Python 3, so we're going to be using Python 3 for the environment activity. So when we enter that environment, it's just going to be Python 3. So the next thing that we have here is a full stop. Now we are already in room 2, so we are using full stop because I want room 2 to be my virtual environment. So I use full stop, signifying or telling virtual env that I want to create the virtual environment in the current folder that I am in, which is room 2. I could easily use another folder again, assuming I have created a folder inside room 2. Okay, so you can play around it to see which one works best for you, or just to know how it works. I'm just going to hit enter. Yes, so once you see this, you realize that it is as what created virtual environments with all these details. That means your virtual environment has now been created. To test that, you can type pip freeze, and then you see that this is the number of items that have been, or the only packages that are in this particular environment. If you like, you can open another terminal and then type pip freeze, and you realize that the packages are a lot more. Or come on, it is a lot more. That means that's the entire system's package, not the virtual environment. So in our environment, we already have Django installed. If you don't have it, please make sure you install it, which is pip install Django. Yes. All right, so now we have our virtual environment app. We are going to create, we're going to use Django -admin. So if you don't have the Pulse app in your directory, probably you were creating it somewhere else. It's possible. Oops, ls is from Windows. ls is from Linux terminal, not for Windows. For Windows it is dir. They pretty much do the same thing. Okay, so in my virtual environment right now, I don't have my app, which is Pulse. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are going to create, and let me clear the screen so that you see things more clearly. What you're going to do is Django -admin start project. We use start project to create our projects, no matter the project, what the project is, and then we do Pulse. So when we type dir again, we should see Pulse. Yes, so that means it has been created. So our project has been created. We can now use cd, which is change directory, into Pulse. Then we are now in Pulse. You can type dir, and you see that we have the manage.py here. Okay, now when you see manage.py, then you know that we can now run our server. So what we are going to do is Python manage.py. You can press tab to auto complete, and then you do run server. You should see your server run like this. Now this link that is here, you can press Ctrl and then right click on it to open it in a browser.